Is she gonna say some words? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, hello. Welcome to Belafonte Enterprises in the Gathering for Justice office. My name is Carmen Perez Jordan, and I am so excited to welcome you all to a very special Radical Readz. As many of you know or may not, the Gathering for Justice was founded in 2005 by the late, great Harry Belafonte, an artist and an activist and civil rights leader who we miss very much. He would have been 97 years old on Friday, but instead we will attend his memorial service on that day. Mr. B's mission for the Gathering was to build a national movement to end child incarceration and eliminate the racial inequities that permeate the justice system. As we are now in our 19th year, I can't believe it. I can't believe I've been here 19 years. I'm proud to say that the Gathering has grown significantly over the past 2 decades. I'm really excited about tonight's Radical Readz, one of our most popular programs, which was inspired by Mr. B's idea for a sustained radical book club for the movement. We're very proud to host authors for the last few years. Some of our authors have been our sister Tamika D. Mallory, Julissa Adse, our other sister Linda Sarsour, our brother Maisan Lennon, Sean King, Matt Graham, who's here, Mark Lamont Hill, Yusuf Salam, and our last one was with former Lieutenant Edwin Raymond of the NYPD 12. Tonight's Radical Readz features my brother and co-founder of Justice League NYC, Angelo Pinto, Esquire, and his partner and co-author, Dr. Jamila T. Davis. Yes. Doctor. And their first book collaboration, Be the Changemakers, 10 Steps to Discovering Your Purpose and Becoming the Change You Wish to See. I know I get inspired every time I watch them on social media, so I know tonight is going to be inspiring. Before we get started, let me share a little bit about these two magnificent people. Angelo Pinto, Esquire, has been called a social justice warrior, policy guru, movement lawyer, and one of the most brilliant minds of our time by some of today's most notable respected leaders of the social justice movement. He is not only a critical voice in the fight for social change, but he is a leader who has created a prolific impact, built movement institutions, and has played a pivotal role in creating and elevating key movement issues. Angelo co-created a teach-in at Occupy Wall Street on the prison industrial complex, spurring a young movement around criminal justice reform, now a national issue. While leading the campaign to raise the age of criminal responsibility here in New York State, he co-founded Justice League NYC along with myself. We were just reminiscing about it's actually our 10-year anniversary, and so there's a lot to talk about there. Angelo has lent his expertise to the campaign to free Meek Mill, elevating the profile of the NYPD 12, helped start the Indigenous Peoples Movement and March, and now boasts a social media following of well over 250,000 individuals globally. Angelo has been named to the Black Enterprise 40 Under 40. Yes, let's give it up. Let's give it up. And Ebony Magazine Power 100. He is an NAACP Image Award winner and has received many distinguished honors. In 2019, he co-founded our sister organization, Until Freedom, an intersectional social justice organization that was pivotal in the fight for justice for Breonna Taylor. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Dr. Jamila Davis is an author, educator, community activist, and entrepreneur. Jamila's story has been featured on the hit shows Love and Hip Hop and VH1's Crime Story and CBS series Pink Collar, BET Sister Circle, as well as Black Enterprise, Forbes, The Breakfast Club with Charlamagne Tha God, as well as the New York Times, USA Today, and numerous other print, digital, and broadcast media. Let's give it up for her. Her new podcast 2 weeks ago and is already on the Apple Podcast charts. Jamila has used her real-life experience and story of redemption to create a platform to inspire and empower others. A self-made multi-millionaire at the age of 25, she was extremely successful until a series of choices landed her in prison, sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison for mortgage and bank fraud. While incarcerated, she did not stop. She received an associate degree in psychology, a bachelor's degree in Christian education, and a master's degree in African American ministry. And most recently, she has earned a PhD in philosophy with a specialization in Christian life coaching from the Newburgh Theological Seminary and College of the Bible. So please call her Dr. Jamila T. Jamila is a mentor, a motivator, an entrepreneur, an artist, an activist, and an inspiration to so many of us women. When I say that, I just got to keep it 100 because, like I said, for her to transform her life and be out here hustling every single day for our young people is truly inspirational. That wasn't on here, so. So please welcome Angelo Pinto Esquire and Dr. Jamila T. Davis. All right. I know we're amongst friends, so we're going to keep it light tonight. All right. I have so many questions for you both, but let's start with the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration in writing this book.
And there's some seats for folks if you guys want to come have some.
Yes,
there's some
please
seats. Come on.
Please come.
Make yourself at home.
Bring babies up.
Yes. I see babies everywhere. God,
Yes.
come on in. Do y'all know where y'all at right now? The space kind of serious. And do folks know where y'all at? Oh, you said it already? Oh, I missed it. Okay. But no, this is the first time I'm in this space. So me and Carmen founded Justice League together 10 years ago, right? A long time ago. And we were in 1199's other building.
On 43rd Street.
The other building. So that's where we did all of our work, blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't quite like this. But all of the work was really on the shoulders of Mr. B. 1199 George Gresham gave Mr. B space as kind of a legacy gift. And the Gathering for Justice was the organization that was the recipient of that eventually Justice League. But the things you see here and the things in that space, this is like Mr. B's stuff. Like this is Mr. Belafonte's stuff. Like, and some of it is his life work. We are kind of his life work too. Some of the young people that he poured so much into, and he just recently transitioned, which is, it's so many. Like he just recently transitioned. It's the 10-year anniversary. So many different things, and Justice League was the beginning of so much, because when that started, it kind of breathed life into what will become the Women's March. Carmen, Tamika, and Linda, and so many other, up until now, really, until freedom, Free Meek, so many different things was birthed in that moment. And Mr. B was really intentional about pouring into us when we were younger people. And some of this stuff won't even be here for long. Some of this is going to go to the Schomburg, and some of you will have time at the end. There's so many just pieces of his life and his legacy, almost 100 years of not just entertainment. Of course, he was the first artist to go platinum, but activism. And, you know, him and Dr. King's deep friendship, and so many people, Rosa Parks, Danny Glover, you name them, they were friends. Paul Robeson, you name them, Mr. B was their friend, right, in some way, shape, or form. And he was our mentor. And we got to speak to him. And he told us what to do, and sometimes we disagreed. And sometimes we even created Justice League, I think, in many ways, because we were trying to carry on the legacy of those folks. So I just wanted to kind of set that tone, like this is a serious space. And this is like, movement artifacts all around this space. Mr. B embodied that, and he really birthed us. And part of the reason why this is even happening, or has happened, because of it.
And his office is actually to the right, and you could see his throne, or what I like to call his throne. But we got to work with him for quite some time. I had sat at his feet for 2 decades. And so I'm really proud that it's kind of like full circle. We were just talking about this full circle as we're here, on the week of his birthday, really having this conversation, actually birthing the next generation of activists that, is really, for me, what I've seen throughout this book is like the movement history, but also allowing people to have purpose, right? And I think that's what Mr. B gave us, his purpose.
So I can answer his first question since he set the stage for that, because I'm here and I'm in just such awe of God, right? And I feel like everybody that's in this room, you're here today because God wanted you to be here. For me, when we go back into purpose, right, I believe it's the thing that you was created to do way before you was even born. And I feel like purpose is a reason that a lot of people are going astray because they don't know their purpose, right? You don't know why you're here on earth. We created this book because we wanted to familiarize, especially young people, with the understanding of what purpose is. You're not on earth just to have a good time, right? Life is not supposed to always be peaches and cream, because it's the pain, it's the obstacles, it's the things that we go through that actually lead us to the spaces and places that we are. So to answer your question, the inspiration came from purpose. I met Angelo, who's now my life partner, and watching you, oh wow. We got the borough president in the building. My dear friend. Can we find a seat for, how many, are you by yourself?
Just one of them.
Oh, okay, here. Can we figure this out?
Yeah.
Dave, can we figure out? Okay. Oh, no, we don't. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Vanessa Gibson.
Yes, give it up for our friend, borough president. Yes, thank you so much for coming. So we was talking about purpose, right? And God blows me away because for me, you heard my story. I spent close to a decade in federal prison. And during that time, I thought maybe God didn't love me, right? Because nobody taught me about purpose. Nobody taught me that often it's pain, it's often the things that you go through that actually prepare you for who you are supposed to be. So I was supposed to go through that time because in that place, I learned about curriculum. I went out, started doing stuff with young people, not understanding that God had this bigger plan. So for me, I just came home and I promised God if he gave me a second chance that I would do things the right way. So I just started the work. And then he showed up. He showed up. He showed up and he blew my mind, right? If you're in this space today, it's because you were specially invited. This is not a paid event or anything. You're here today because you're part of our family. If you got an invite, that means you're somebody that's very, very, very close to us. And all of you guys have like purpose even in the journey. So speaking of purpose, I was working in East Orange with kids, right? We got the mayor's office director here, LaDonna Johns. They gave me an opportunity when no one would, right? I was a formerly incarcerated individual. I wanted to do this program, and she believed in me when others said it can't be possible, right? So we started this online program where we had about 300 kids where we were doing work with them over the summer. And Angelo started teaching them social justice. That's how this all came about. And he actually taught our kids so much where cameras were off, where he would come on.
During COVID.
Cameras, you want to finish up the story? So, no, this is good. So you can do the other piece to this, right? So the kids were so excited by him and learning. And this is during the height of George Floyd, protests. And the kids wanted to know what was going on. And a lot of people don't understand. We forgot about our kids. We were worried about the frontline workers and all these things. But kids were home going crazy because they couldn't go to school. They didn't have an outlet. There was things happening and we was their outlet. And Angelo would come every single week. He was actually living between.
We were living in Kentucky.
So that's what I said. Story a little bit.
So at the time, so Until Freedom we went to Louisville, Kentucky for Breonna Taylor's murder. So, but before George Floyd happened, so this is how the story goes. So we go to Louisville, Kentucky because we got a call from the attorney who was working with Breonna Taylor. So we go to Louisville, and we're trying to raise visibility for the case. No one knows about the case at the time. There's no camera footage. People aren't paying attention to it. We're going to head back to New York. And there's a video I see online, watching the video, and I go back to Until Freedom folks. We're in the lobby, really about to go to Indianapolis for an hour and then fly back to New York. We were meeting with another family who lost someone to gun violence. And I said, we should go here. Something's happening. And it was George Floyd. So we didn't know where it happened. We found out it happened in Minneapolis. We didn't know how far we were from Minneapolis. We tried to get flights, we couldn't. And then we realized it was a 10-hour drive. So we drove. We went to Indianapolis, met with the family, and then we drove to Minneapolis. And it was within 24 hours of George Floyd being murdered. And we thought we were literally, folks didn't want to go, first of all. We going back home. It's COVID, we ain't doing all that. And actually we meet Leslie Redmond in Minneapolis. So we go to Minneapolis.
Our history is in the room.
Yeah. We go to Minneapolis and we said we're going to head back to New York. We ended up staying in Minneapolis for a week because the uprising happens. So we're staying in Minneapolis. You know, we meet Leslie Redmond, who's one of the folks on the front line, on the ground. I mean, as the president of the NAACP, Minneapolis chapter, when it's happening. I mean, so much, oh my God, Minneapolis was different. Literally, the precinct that where the officers who were responsible from George Floyd went up in flames in Minneapolis while we were there. And we were protesting, you know, every night. So there's a protest happening at the precinct. And then at night, after that protest ends, like around midnight, people go to the officer's house and they're protesting. That's where most of the police officers are, because people are at the officer's house. And around, I don't remember, maybe night 4 or 5, folks set the precinct up in flames. And I remember the next day, I was like, Dad, I wonder where people are going to go now. Like, this is where we were protesting. And they went to the next closest precinct. Yeah. So Minneapolis was like, I mean, it's like nothing you could even explain, or it was in another world, the experience. But while that was happening, we used that moment to raise visibility around Breonna Taylor's name. Because everyone was talking about George Floyd. We said there's other folks around the country who've experienced this. One of those folks is Breonna Taylor. And Dr. Davis at the time said, come teach these students. And
I think I could jump back in.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is the part where I could tell a story now. So now, after he told that, while he was doing that, he came every single week to meet with my kids. You know, other people would say, I'm busy, something is happening. He came, and then he helped our kids to do their own protests. And it was, what was the young man?
So, of course, what we all know is that there's many people who've lost their lives to police violence around the country. Any city, pretty much, you can find folks. So in New Jersey, there was a man who was murdered by New Jersey State Troopers, Maurice Gordon. And there was a video, actually, of it. Students found out about it. They found the attorney who was representing him. And then we had a protest. Right?
A kid-led
protest.
And he flew back from Louisville, Kentucky, in the height of everything, to be with my kids to protest. So that's when I saw, I'm like, wow, this is different. Come on in.
There's
Come
some,
on in.
not many, but there's some.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, long story short, that's where the inspiration of this book came from. It came from us doing this work with kids, us seeing each other in the process, right? And we went from there to starting to work with students at Seton Hall University. I got my PhD while we were together, and then I became the community practitioner in residence there. And then he helped me with the programming there. Thank you.
It's a big deal.
He helped me with the programming there. And then because of that, folks at Yale saw the programming, our friend Dr. Opara, and then they invited Angelo to be the activist in residence at Yale University School of Public Health.
Not too bad.
So we quickly saw like life happening, and it was us creating programs. And how did I learn how to create programs? In prison, right? So I was the prisoner that kept the inmates happy, because we were all sad, depressed, didn't know what to do. So I was the one who was creating a bunch of programs for my sisters behind bars, and that's how I learned curriculum, preparation. Like I know what works. because I know how to entertain people who other folks would never really be able to reach. And I had no clue at the time that was God's hand. I'm going to put you someplace to teach you a skill that's a little bit different, right? So now when I come into the schools, the kids is like, yes, like, woo, you know? And I have some of my principals here, like Dr. Smalls, and, you know, folks, that's why I said this room is, our history is all over the seats of this room, right? And people who gave us a chance when no one else would. So we took our little pots and we began to put them together, and we started teaching and doing this work. And we found purpose in what we were doing, found purpose in each other, and that's the inspiration for them.
That was like a whole history lesson. I love that. And you know, you talk a lot about like Angelo coming and teaching the kids. Meanwhile, other folks, you know, are busy and things like that. But you have mentioned power bond. And I think it's really important, especially as somebody who is in a relationship, in a marriage with another organizer. I really love this. Share with us a little bit more what that means to you both.
So, I created that power bond. Isn't that good?
Because you were talking about, you have
That's going to be my next book.
People bond off of trauma, but you all bonded off of power.
And the thing about it is, and Jamila has a new podcast where they talk all about trauma. It's easy to bond off trauma. You could easily do that because everyone's experienced trauma. And it's usually something that's like at the forefront of your mind. You think about it, you feel it, it impacts how you show up. And it impacts how you relate to people or not. But one of the things that happened in our relationship, and I don't know if we were intentional about it, really. It just kind of happened, was like what I call power bonding. And our gifts really enhanced each other's gifts. That's pretty much what it is. Our gifts enhanced each other's gifts, and it made us better, and it made the things we were doing better. And that's really what power bonding is. It's like when most of you all, everyone in this room is magnificent by themselves. Tremendous gift from God that has a gift and purpose. But once you bring that with another person who's aligned with you, Lord have mercy.
Look, there's some lyrics. I'm a movement by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm a force when we're together.
But that force, baby, that force, that force sometimes, because I don't want to sell y'all the stuff.
It's not always all good.
People be like, oh, it's great and wonderful. Oh boy, that force,
I
right?
just said we power bond.
Okay. So when you come together and you're so powerful on both sides, sometimes there's a little struggle, you know what I mean? You got to get safe. I'm somebody who experienced trauma. So it was not easy for me to trust. I'm looking like, okay, what you want? What's up? You know? So it's a lot of those things, but we had to, it was like iron sharpen iron. Like we had to really, you know, hold on. I'm like, wait a second, you do this, but I do this good too. Hold up. You know, okay, but you do that a little better. So it's like really being honest with each other and understanding that if you get with someone and it's the same old, you're never going to grow because you're doing the same old. So you got to be with somebody that pushes you. And he had all the things together, but he needed a little push. I'm like, come on, baby. Let's get this thing.
I need a little push.
And some of y'all know him from the rites and passage, and then y'all see his growth. He need a little push. Come on now.
You know what it is too. I think there's certain times no one does everything great.
Right.
That's right.
Right. There's certain things you're phenomenal at, but then there's certain places where you're just not, or you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And one of those places for sure was business. Like I didn't think about business in an everyday kind of way. And Jamila's a real entrepreneur.
Baby,
like,
we
that's
gonna do
what
some
she
business.
do.
If we're not gonna do nothing else, if you know me, we gonna do some business. We got to do, cause you, and that's the part to the movement. Oh, come on in. Oh, my family, come on in. And Yanis, I see you standing up back there. Mm-hmm. That says 2-0. Okay, there's two. Okay, there's 2 seats. So, you know, with doing the movement work, I love what y'all do, but I'm like, we need some money. We can't be doing, because if you have money, you can do more of the work. I don't just want the money for me. I want the money for my babies when we in school and we hear the rent can't get paid. They about to get kicked on the street and nobody got. I need to have a checkbook. Well, hold up, mommy, I got you. I'll be right there. So for me, I was interested in how do we get some money, because we need that, you know. And so we kind of came together, and I'm like, okay, hold up, you do that, we do this, and we make this a business. So that's a part of the book too, because now we teach the business of social entrepreneurship, right? So it's cool to be an entrepreneur, but social entrepreneurship is when you create a business that has impact.
And that's the thing. So it's really like, and I'm thinking sometimes in relationships, people's worlds collide and they don't connect and come together. Like it's easy in a relationship to do this and be like, oh, but if you could do this, all kinds of things can happen. That's what kind of happened. So I was so, and Carmen, you know, when you do this work, you're locked into the work. And I think for a lot of us who do this work, we almost already feel like we're going to be doing this work for free. Like this is what we do, or you know, not much.
I used to say we make miracles happen with rice and beans, and so you know, I need a Jamila in my life,
because I'm like the rice and beans that gonna pay the bills now. I said I got to. It's so crazy, right? Because I told you our history is in a room. Dr. Small is here, right? This is one of our closest friends, and he's also an educator, right? But he's an educator that comes with the checkbook. You understand what I'm trying to say? And it's so crazy, but checkbook in the right way. Like he raises funds for his school to be able to do amazing, magnificent things. And I remember the connection when you first met Small.
Well, I was going to say it's deep because social entrepreneurship, social justice, what I did, Jamila was an entrepreneur. And we said, oh, these two things can live together. Yes. Not only can they live together, social justice needs money. Yeah. But not only that, entrepreneurship should be happening in the right way. In a way that transforms community, not just to make money. Right. But in the course of doing that, when you really find connection with someone, it's easy to find connection with other people who share that vision, who are already doing that work, and who will really just propel you. And then you can grow that community. That's really what it's been. It's like our work now is fueled by people like Dr. Small, who fuels us and believes in us and allows us to pour into his young people, and they pour into us, and it grows. That's just literally what happens. It's organic. You don't have to force it. It's happening naturally. And I think that's, for me anyway, when you know it's not you doing that. You know it's God. When it's like something, I couldn't have figured that one out.
And he had to see in order to be it. So if we thank God for Dr. Small. So during the COVID-19, he was one of the people who entrusted us to do online work with his students, because people were scared, not sure how to do it, right? And it's because of you allowing us to work with your students. Remember, you used to be in a room working with them like 4, 5, 7.
This is true. This is private.
And then we got that framework. We took the framework over to East Orange. And when they was about to have their summer program canceled because they had no way to be able to they said kids ain't gonna stay online for that time. Baby, we had to practice already, right? So allowing us to practice gave us the opportunity to do the work. So we share all of this to say every experience has purpose, right? And don't ever, dismiss doing things for free, because people say, "Oh, you tell them the lesson from that," because you gained the lesson.
But I want to say the book really is an evolution of all of those things and the education business. So part of what we learned was that not only do we want to go into school, not only do we want to have curriculum, not only do we want to teach young people things that they would not learn in other places, and have it taught by people who would never be in front of them, we knew that we wanted them to start to lead with something. And we wanted them to have a kind of a curriculum that they can keep with them at all times. So this book, which is part of this course we're doing now, but now all of our courses will have a book. This is Jamila's third book that did, but it's, Lord have mercy. So, but all of the courses now have books, right? It's a part of the curriculum that young people get, because it's the evolution of how our education process happens. What did you ask me to do?
Now, we was talking about, like, when you give things for free, you will eventually get paid for it.
Oh, Lord have mercy. This is a good one. So, even, it's funny. So, when we started Justice League, we both had jobs. jobs. Me and Carmen had jobs. I was working on the Raise Your
free
Age
work, right?
campaign at the time. She was working at the Gathering for Justice. And we created Justice League because we felt like we needed to do it. We didn't get 4 pennies for it, right? We just did it because we said we're going to do this. And of course, Justice League becomes so many other things. Tamika, my son, Linda, Isaac, so many people, so many movement folks from around the country poured into or connected to Justice League, and it birthed many things, right? But it was all free. And in the course of that, some of what I was always doing was educating. I go to schools all the time for free. We went to a couple of schools this week for free, right? That's part of the process. And while in the past couple of weeks, what I was saying to Dr. Davis was that my motto now is do it for free. Do it for free. Because when you do it for free, you're setting yourself up to get paid for it.
To get paid for life.
That's what you're setting yourself up for. But sometimes when you don't want to do it for free because you think, I'm not going to keep doing this thing for free now.
Now, I didn't say keep doing it for free.
No,
I
I'm
said
just saying.
start out there.
I'm just saying, that's how that
Taking
works.
it back to God is that a lot of what we did in Justice League ultimately did pay.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
And one of the things that we kept saying to ourselves was God will provide,
Mhm.
right? Is like having faith that the work that you do ultimately will be recognized. And there was like Change for Change that
my
raised
gosh.
$900,000 for Justice
Oh,
League.
y'all done did a lot after that.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was just a lot, and
Oh
I
my
think that
gosh.
just goes to show I think what both of you bring to the table, right? You talk about, the book is based on curriculum you've already been teaching in
Yes.
schools. But what do you each think is the most important thing to teach young people today?
I'm going to say purpose, right? That your life is bigger than you. When you know what you're living for, and going back to the free thing, when you do what you love, you'll do it for absolutely free with passion, right? So when you find your purpose, you find your passion. It's the thing that you absolutely love to do. And if somebody didn't give you $1 for it, you would do it, right? So when you find your purpose, you're going to be able to get through any storm. You're going to be able to keep going because it's the thing you absolutely love to do. You and Angelo found your purpose. That's why you did this work.
Yeah.
And in finding your purpose, then you found your spot on this earth, right? For me, I knew that when the judge banged the gavel, if I was to see my maker at that moment, he would not say, job well done, right? I had to do, now I think I'm all right. I think today, I'm not where I want to be, but I know if it happens, because we all are going to go at some particular point, I know I could get there and be like, you know what I mean? Little something, right? And that's what life is about. Having your maker say, job well done, right? And I don't think kids understand that. So kids are thinking about the latest sneakers, they thinking about this, they thinking about that. And I think when people such as myself and Angelo, we're able to tell our stories that they relate to, and they start thinking about purpose, it changes their whole life. I just spoke to a freshman class at Seton Hall that I taught a couple of months ago. And I started teaching them about purpose. And they said, nobody else ever told us this. We don't know. People tell us, go into a profession because of the money, because daddy told you to, because mommy and them. But they didn't teach them about purpose, right? I think we could get some people to put the guns down if they understand that their life has real purpose. So I feel like this book is very important because the fundamentals of it teaches people about purpose, and then it teaches them about change. So how do you give back now? So when we speak to young people, we don't tell them, oh, this is what you can do when you're adult. We're asking them, what can you do right now? Let's teach you what you can do right now. Because when you find your gift and you find your purpose right now, then guess what? You know that you're going to less likely get into trouble, do other things, because you're like, hold up, nah, homie, I can't go over there because I'm worth this. I know who I am and whose I am. I'm on purpose. I got something to do. So I feel like that's a game changer.
What's deep about purpose? Give it up. That was good.
I
She's a teacher. But the thing about purpose that's so deep is, and I think everyone experiences it. Before I created Until Freedom, I had a job. It was my dream job. I worked hard for many years in the nonprofit arena. Got this job. I was like, this is where I want to be. Oh my gosh, all the things, the salary, the place. I was like, whoo, I got fired.
True story.
True story. And I got fired for doing the right thing. I ain't gonna talk about that yet. But I got fired for, oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, Lord have mercy. And it was in the nonprofit sector, so I'm just like, this is gonna happen to me for doing it. Golly. But in hindsight, I realized it was God.
Yeah.
It was God saying, there's so much more than that. And the thing that I thought was the dream, God was like, that's small, Jack. Come on. And that's what happened in that moment. And that's actually right after I left that job, we ended up creating Until Freedom. Amen. And because God was really like, create your own, do your own thing. You can't keep doing this. I'm saying that to say, even when you are performing and living in your purpose, there's another level. There's a whole journey to get to purpose. That's a whole journey. But then there's levels to that. Who thinks you walking in their purpose in life right now? Raise your hand. Right.
The babies.
Even the baby like already. Already. But there's levels, and it's deep though, because you're born with your purpose.
Yes.
Right? It's already in you. And society usually confuses you about that. So the baby, right? It's already in the baby. And society, sometimes you veer off the path of your purpose, and you need people to put you back on the path, to locate it, find it again. But once you do, there's levels to it. And I think when you align your purpose with other purposes, that's when your purpose starts to perform in ways you couldn't imagine. And I think that's the other levels to it. Because literally, folks, there's powerhouses in this room. Many, 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 many powerhouses.
Absolutely.
And together, the powerhouses do so much more, and the purpose manifests at even a greater level, which I think is truly what God wants. Like, going from miracle to miracle. Constantly creating magnificently abundant and transformative things. Like, whatever you did was your greatest achievement, so much more is possible. So much more is possible.
One of my favorite phrases is we come together like Voltron.
Yes.
Yes.
Building collective power. So the book is so powerful and accessible and important, and you all do such a great job of giving readers of all ages and backgrounds some tangible and some tangible things to activate themselves in. I want us to keep talking, but I think the audience would also like to hear a little bit from the book. And so we've invited some friends here to read a short excerpt from just the introduction of Be the Changemakers, 10 Steps to Discovering Your Purpose and Becoming the Change You Wish to See. However, before we do that, I'd like to welcome our Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson.
Yes. Sure.
Do you want me to speak from?
Come on up. Come on down.
I also see one of our friends back there I haven't seen in a long time.
Hello. Tara Wallace, my co-host.
Yes.
I Love Me More podcast is in the building.
Yes.
Can we find them a seat? There's a seat right here, and I think there's a seat next to my sister. Y'all could just. Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you. And there's one next to Vanessa. Okay.
How you doing?
Yes.
Hey everyone, good evening. I feel truly honored and privileged to be a part of this, and I want to say thank you, Jamila and Angelo, Dr. Jamila T. Davis.
That's right.
That's right.
Respecting the title,
Yes.
Angelo Pinto, Esquire. Thank you, and thank you, Carmen Perez Jordan. Thank you for everything that you all are doing, gathering for justice and radical Readz. Justice League NYC, Until Freedom. I feel like I've been a part of it. And I often say, I don't know how they do this work. But then sometimes when people ask me how I do the work I do, I understand. And everything that both Jamila and Angelo are talking about are my principles that I follow every day, because I believe that I have a purpose and I do this work with intention because I want to make a difference. I want the dash, right? The dash that's distinguished between your date of birth and your date of death to be significant and to make a difference and to leave a lasting legacy, right? I want to be one of those that are memorable and not forgettable, right? And being the Bronx Borough President is truly an honor. I've been serving for 2 years now. Started my third year. And you all know that I was in the fight for my life in 2021 when I decided after leaving the city council to run for borough president. There were many people that stood with us, but there were folks that were like, Ms. Gibson, you are a woman and you're a Black woman and you're running for borough president in the Bronx, right? All these challenges. And I said, you know what? Watch me work. Because I truly believe that God was calling me to this position for a time and a reason and a season. And it has absolutely been an honor. And I often say as I travel and speak at schools, right, whether we're at Taft or Morris or one of my campuses,
I used to be right
when I walk in my office at Borough Hall, I have a wall of all of my predecessors, from the first borough president all the way to my immediate predecessor, Ruben Diaz Jr. And then on the left side, Carmen, I have a separate wall with my picture, and I stand alone. So a young lady came to the office and she said, Madam Borough President, why are you on your own wall? I said, for 2 reasons, Queen. I said, number one, I've earned my right to be on my own wall, right? And number two, that wall has space so that you can follow me as the next borough president. So I'm leaving space for you, right? And so when you talk about that calling, when you talk about doing this work, it has to be about uplifting young people. It has to be about making sure that in all of us, they can see themselves, their own hopes and aspirations and dreams. Because if you allow folks to, they will count you out, right? Folks will count you out all the time, but you have to count yourself in. You have to realize that you are a part of something much greater than yourself. And so I look forward to reading your book because I truly believe that we are all agents of change. We are change makers. We have to be the change that we want to see, that we deserve, and that we expect. We cannot expect anyone to save us, right? I think we often say for us, by us. I think about Tamika, Linda, and my son, and all the work that they have done over these years. And it is truly impactful. But the most important thing for me as a borough president is to make sure that my people are taken care of. When it comes to careers, jobs, I've been blessed because I've been able to work with Jamila when I was in the council on entrepreneurship and going into high schools and talking to young people. Young person, what do you want to do? You want to be a barber? No, you're going to own your barber shop. Not just be the barber. You're going to own the shop. You want to be a beautician, a hairstylist, a nail technician? Let's build out your business, starting with your website, your QR code, your business, like your logo. Who are you? What do you stand for? And that's what we did. I took Jamila to one of my campuses in the Bronx with like 6 high schools, and we spent all day there. And she got a real understanding of what I deal with every day as a borough president. So it's really an honor to be here. I am so proud to see how far God has taken you both. Because a lot of times we don't realize that in our pain, we find purpose. And in our storm, we find strength. And oftentimes every situation, every challenge that we have faced has been a setback. Let your setback be your preparation for a comeback. Show people better than you can tell them. Because if we allow folks, they will tell our narrative. They will talk about us, right? And, you know, the conversations we're having now where people think they can create sneakers and we'll vote for them. Like, this is the world that we are living in when we have lost value of what's important. What is important? What are the principles that you stand on? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So you have to have the values that you talked about and realize that everything that you do has to have an impact. And I agree. Yes, giving volunteer services is great. That's how I started out as an intern. I got my foot in the door. And then at some point, you know, you have to expect some rewards. I get it. But the greatest reward for me as a borough president are seeing our kids flourish. When I go to graduations and I'm helping them with college essays and getting financial assistance, and they tell me, Ms. Gibson, I'm going to Brown University on a full scholarship, or I'm going to an HBCU, it warms my heart because it means, you know what? Our kids have promise and potential. How dare anyone give up on that? we cannot give up on them, right? And so as we all realize in all of our spaces, we have constituents, clients, customers, patients that we ultimately serve, but let us be our authentic selves in doing it, right? The only barrier to our success is us. If we allow folks to tell our narrative. And one thing I always say as a bar president, I'm not going to let anyone tell the narrative of the Bronx if it's not a positive one. Because every time you turn on the news, there's something negative. They don't talk about those young people doing great work, getting good grades, going to school every day, going to college and careers, apprenticeship, pathways to the middle class and college and career. They don't talk about any of that. It's not newsworthy, but it's newsworthy to us.
That's right.
So what I try to do is make sure that we tell that story. We tell that narrative. So again, congratulations. You know I'll be here forever. Ooh, congratulations. That's why she's the vice president. Thank you everyone for coming.
And you're in the book, so.
I am. By the way, happy Black History Month. We still got some celebrating. Yes, we do.
Angelo said there's drinks. Well, we're going to welcome our readers to come up, and so I'm going to start naming you one by one. We have Karis LeVay, Leslie Redmond, and Jay Jordan, Perez. No, I'm joking.
You're first up.
Me?
Yes.
No, it's
Karis.
Karis. Yeah. Come on, Karis.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
She reps the Bronx too.
Come on, be into the house.
Absolutely. Most of the time, people lie down and take life's hits. We've all heard the phrase, life isn't fair, and may have begun to believe we are powerless to fight back. That's far from the truth. The reality is that going through obstacles strengthens and enlightens us about the power that lies within. It's the very obstacles we fear and run from that have the power to show us our strength. We were created to be change makers here on earth. When we see things that are unjust, we can fight against them and win. Our struggles can pave the way for others so they don't have to experience the same pain. A change maker is a person who has the courage to stand up and speak out against injustice. A person who is solution focused, one who creates roadways and change to help others. A change maker doesn't take no for an answer.
That's right.
They are willing to use their gifts, their talents, ability, and spirituality to make what seems impossible to others possible. A change maker is a person with vision, one who thinks outside the box. A passion becomes their superpower, giving them the fortitude to weather the storm until they receive the results they desire. It may appear to be challenging to be a change maker. The truth is, it simply requires a unique mindset. It takes a willingness to go within and find your inner strengths and abilities. This book was created for those who are ready to tap into their power within. Those who will dare to be courageous and use their gifts, talents, and knowledge to create change. Change is possible, but it requires work and skill. This book will prepare you to stand up, advocating for and empowering others to become their best selves.
Woo.
Despite where you come from and the mistakes that you've made in life, if you fall down, it's never too late to dust yourself off and get back up again. Dr. Jamila T. Davis. When I turned 25, I thought I had it all. I was, in my opinion, living the dream. I successfully purchased, rehabbed, and sold distressed properties in the exclusive enclave of Alpine, New Jersey. In addition, I worked with celebrities, rappers, several NBA and NFL players. However, while thrilling, that time in my life was a short moment. While it seemed successful on the outside, I knew I was cutting corners. I knew I wasn't truthful. But most importantly, I knew this was not my real purpose in life. This was the era of the no docs and low doc loans, during which I found myself committing bank fraud. Because of this, I was incarcerated and made an example of. The fruits of my labors vanished, and I was left to live out the lessons of my rapid rise of riches and even quicker fall to ruin. When the judge banged the gavel and I was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, a dark time began for me. But it was also an eye-opening one. I didn't know who I was or the true purpose in my life. But at this point, everything that I thought was success or purpose had been stripped away from me. It was here that I realized my whole life had been spent people-pleasing, keeping up with the Joneses, and doing everything in my power to be what society deemed as the definition of success. Yes, I had a lot of material things in that life that made me appear to be successful on the outside, but something was missing on the inside. Okay, I got another one for y'all. Amen. That was good. That was I felt it. Okay, I got one more for y'all. In this dark place, I had no other option but to go on a self-discovery journey that helped me to see the light. I discovered the main ingredient missing in my life. I was not connected to my true self. For years, I had lived a life of value externally, but not internally. As a result, I didn't feel worthy. I felt lost, and as though life had no meaning. And it was true then. Life had no meaning at the moment because I was not connected to my purpose, something larger than me. As I sat in prison, I wondered about all of those years before and what would have happened if I had done things differently and taken the time to become the person that I was born to be. If perhaps I had taken the straight and narrow path and not gone for the quick riches to success, life may have been drastically different for me. We all feel like that at some point in our life. What if I had done things differently? What if I could go back in time and make changes? Things surely would be different. This usually happens in those dark times when our backs are against the walls and we feel like all lost is hope. All feels lost and hopeless. But remember, you are now learning to make changes in the future. You can't go back, but you can move ahead with the experiences to make better decisions. While some challenges today may seem insurmountable, there is one way to know that you can be a change maker. You resonate with the inward desire to create an impact in this world. You were not born to live a life of suffering, pain, hardships, and endless obstacles. Instead, you can see that obstacles serve as an opportunity to use your power. Thank you.
After Jay Jordan, we have Zakia Ansari.
When we aspire to create change in the world, we inspire others as well. Angelo Pinto with a capital P, Esquire.
That's right.
During the course of our life, what may be seen as unfortunate events can cause you to be drawn to create change. In most cases, this is what propels people and becomes their passion. We are all on a journey, though some may not realize it. Many people are just trying to figure out life day to day. Two things that have always been a passion of mine are knowledge and learning. Understanding the world and its people and how I could positively impact them despite whatever challenges they may face. However, my path to learning and being exposed to what I now care about so much started when I was categorized as having a learning disability in school. My mother knew I could learn, not because she was my mother, but because she believed in me. She had been working with me before I got to school and during my time there. She knew what school officials said about me was not true. There was a disconnect. And at all costs, she did her best to remedy that disconnect. Regardless of how they labeled me, even sending me to different programs, she knew deep down that I had greatness in me. During those challenges with my mother's support, I discovered my passion, the desire to help those facing life's difficulties. My experience with my family members and close friends who had challenges in life nurtured within me a passion for caring about people. I wanted to ensure they did well in life. The very thing people said was my challenge, I used to create change. Today, because of those school officials who believed more in my learning disabilities than me, I became a voice of change.
Yes, I know that's right.
After the murder of Breonna Taylor, my organization Until Freedom traveled to Louisville, Kentucky, several times to work on her case. This was about 2 to 3 months after Breonna Taylor was murdered. Most people didn't even know the story. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know who she was. In fact, we hadn't heard about her story. There was no video, so there wasn't the kind of public attention and outcry you traditionally get when someone is murdered by police. So we spent the day in Louisville, Kentucky, engaging in protests and press conference to raise the visibility and get some of the community to buy in and get involved in the fight for justice for Breonna. While we were in the hotel lobby, someone sent me this video of George Floyd being murdered in Minneapolis. At that time, we were scheduled to go to Indianapolis and then back to New York. But I told my Until Freedom partners that we should go to Minneapolis instead. I knew this video was gaining traction and people would show up to protest and stand with the family and the community after this atrocity. At the time, we had no idea how far Minneapolis was from Louisville or exactly how we would get there. However, I knew this would be an important moment in history and we needed to figure that out. Part of how I knew this could be an important moment was because of Freddie Gray. We happened to be in Baltimore where Freddie Gray was murdered by police under a similar set of circumstances. This moment became a movement around police violence, not just in Baltimore, but throughout the country. I saw this as a similar opportunity. The moment became a global movement, particularly for us.
Mm.
Yeah. Let's give a round of applause for our leaders. We're going to be wrapping up, but I want to ask one last question. You know, as you're raising a young Black teen,
Preteen, almost there.
Preteen, and you, Jamila, being a young person yourself and having children, right? How much of yourself and your children have influenced you actually doing this work?
That's good. So, my children inspire me so much. They're my reason. They kept me going while I was incarcerated. And I wanted my kids to feel proud of me. They didn't for so long. And it's so crazy that my daughter was staying at the time when I was incarcerated with her grandmother. Her father used to tell her, I don't want you to turn out to be like your mother. Right? So that was a thing for me. I had to prove to myself, one, and to my kids that I was worthy. Right? So I live for them. I do this work for them. My son is actually, he works with me by my side. My son, so all those videos you see on social media, my son edits them. A lot of the stuff, the graphics and things you see in the book, my son does. So he works with me on this journey. We're partners in this. And I understand now the importance of legacy, right? So legacy is creating so that it can pass down, because it has to live after we are here. So my job is to empower them so that they can empower the generation after I pass on.
So, no, that made me think about something. Legacy. There's many of the folks in here are part of a community I'm a part of in Duke. Raise your hand if you're part of Duke. Some of my folks.
Okay. Y'all deep.
There's a young man there, and his name means if I do not try, I will not succeed. That's what his name means. His name is Amalu. That's the meaning of his name. And one of the assignments is to understand the meaning of your name. Like you know what your name is, but what does try mean? And really getting into the details of that name. And he was doing that, and we were looking at the word success, because if I do not try, I will not succeed. So we was like, what is succeeding? And when we were doing it, the fascinating thing we found out was succeeding is really about succession. When we were looking at the word, it was like success is really about succession. It's what you can pass on, what you can leave to others. Because often your success is built upon what was left for you.
That's right.
That's right.
Right? So I think at some point in life, and of course we have Mr. B looking down on all of us, you start to live your life for others. Right? Or at least for what you leave when you're no longer here.
Yeah.
And I think children, they really remind you of that every day. Like, Lord have mercy. This little person gotta get their act together. But that's what children remind you of. They and especially when you are doing well for yourself, because children could be like, oh, you got it? You good. I would do whatever I want. And you have to kind of remind them that they have their own journey too.
Yeah.
Right? You have your own thing you gotta do, right? Your own path to walk. And I'm a part of your purpose, but I'm not your purpose, if that makes sense. And part of what our goal is really to set them up for success.
Yeah.
And then they set up the next generation. And the deep thing about the idea of succession and success is that, and me and Amalu were talking about this, and we were saying how sometimes people don't meet their purpose and their success because the person who was supposed to prepare them is not there. There was someone that was supposed to do this so you could do that. And they didn't do that. Like imagine, it was the analogy of imagine if you're a window maker, but no one built the house. What you making windows with, Jack? You know, what you gonna do with that? But you need someone to lay a foundation. You need someone to build walls. You need someone, and then you could come in with the windows and the electricity person. But if those things don't exist, the windows don't matter as much, or at least it appears that it doesn't matter as much. So part of your purpose, and I think Jamila taught me this beautiful lesson, like hire your kids. If you got kids, hire your kids. Give them a job.
That's right.
Because one, their success is connected to you, but you also are now creating a new pathway where they know they have to directly pour into theirs for real success to happen. And when success doesn't happen there, some of that's your fault. Right? Some of that, not all of it, because I did some things my mama told me not to do, Lord have mercy. But my success, as was mentioned, some of it was because she just believed in me in ways I didn't even know I was supposed to believe in myself. I was so young, like I didn't even know what that was. So you need someone to do something you're not even capable of doing yet. And I think in the schools with young people, that's part of what happens. It's like you have to believe in someone until they get to the point where they believe in themselves, and they can carry that on.
Woo! I'm taking notes. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for this special Radical Reads. We're going to open it up for questions. If folks have any?
And then we have a special announcement for you all.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Questions, thoughts?
I have a question. Grace and peace, everyone. It's Leslie. My question is, we were talking about the difference between trauma bonding and power bonding, right? how do you identify some of those traits of someone who is equally yoked with you and that purpose is aligning with yours? Can you talk a little bit more about that, both of you?
That's good. That they have something to put in the pot. So sometimes we're people who have nothing to add to the equation, right? So they don't have something to actually put in the pot.
Yeah.
So with me and Angelo, it was like he had things, but I had things, and we needed each other's pot. You know, one of the first events we did was Tamika Mallory's book signing, right? Event. And I was charged with getting 5,000 books, you know, and we had to purchase those books. And I didn't have the money to purchase the books. Guess who purchased the books? Okay, so we put our things together and we just started moving things together. And I'm like, wow, okay, you got this, but I got that. And we started working together collectively. So I feel like power bonding is with people who can add to your pot. And if they don't got nothing to add and they keep taking away, baby, that thing might not be a power bond. So that'll be the first sign.
That's good. That's good. I think that. Have you ever? Who's had a challenge or issue in life and you're like, I can't figure this out? You like, Lord have mercy, I can't figure this thing out. And you do research because people smart. People like go to Google. I'm gonna call a friend, and you still can't figure it out. I always say, in those moments when you can't figure something out like that, you're supposed to go to God. Because you've explored all the traditional ways in which you can get answers and you can't get them. So you got to go to something that answers questions that people can't answer. And that's God. I think in the context of a power bond, in me and Jamila's relationship, there were things happening that I couldn't have foreseen or done. And I knew God was doing it. I was like, wow. This is God. This has got to be God. Because I wouldn't do it. And there was even times where I don't want to do this. I got no way. But I realized God's hand on that. And God was like, well, look at this. Let me show you this. And I was like, oh my gosh. Wow. And the other piece that happened was, who's been in a situation where you're like, I don't want to do this no more. I'm out. I'm gone. This ain't for me. Every day.
That a few times.
Every day. But in those, and I'm a person who does, I ain't got time. I don't got time.
So quick to say, dude.
I ain't got time. But the thing that happened the first time I thought that, it was like an epiphany. It seriously quickly happened. I started to learn in that moment. I was like, it's not about the other person. It's about you. And that was like a huge kind of epiphany for me. It was like, anytime you're having a moment where you feel like it's a challenge, it's like, no, God trying to show you something about you. And that person is really just this constant reflection for you to do what you got, do your work. Work on yourself. And that's kind of, I think, what a power bond is too. People often think it's like the good things, but it's also when a person really shows you that when you see the bad things, like, oh, damn. I'm doing this. I need to do work. I need to get better, right? Because it's easy to make everything about other people and other things because there's other things and other people around.
And just quickly, like with us, we created this board when we first got together. And we wrote down all of our goals, all the things that we wanted to do. We've crossed everything off that board.
Nice.
So what I found out is that like, one can chase 1,000, two can chase 10,000, right? So he's anointed, I'm anointed. When we put our anointing together, we got power and we can move. And I also realized that our anointing is not for us. So as much as you want to keep pouring into yourself, you know what I mean? It's going, you're not really equipped to do that. But I'm equipped to move some of his stuff up out the way. So I move, you know, he moves mine. And when we come together, I found that we were able to move quicker. So when you power bond is when you with someone and y'all are able to start creating change almost immediately, you know that there's some power in that.
It's a person like great athletes, when they get to a point of like really being, people know, oh, you good. The first thing they can get you a coach. They said, put someone next to that person. If you really good, it'd be like coach nutritionist. And if you really coach nutritionist press, they start to put pieces around you because they know you're that good. And I think that's what a good relationship is like. It pushes you in the places you ain't gonna push yourself. Because we all have places we gonna lay down. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Because we all know our comfort zones and things we're not willing to push past. But a person next to you all the time, they be like, yo, that's trifling, Jack. You gotta do something with that. Or they might not even say that, but it's, like, oh, that's trifling. I can't do that. So I think that's the other piece. It's like a person who is really, and it's tough to have a coach all the time. But at some point, you can get in the rhythm and it feels all right.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
It's all right now.
It's okay.
I know that's right. I love this for you. I love this for you because I've known you a long time.
We definitely got to mention Jermaine over here.
Oh, yeah.
Our good brother.
Yes. Oh, let me say this real quick before Dr. Small. So we have the books on sale tonight, but for all of you, it's free. Friends, so you all get to go home on the book tonight. And
it's important for us to gift into you and to sow into you because there's so many of y'all that sold into our lives. So first it's like we about to say, no, we're not selling this tonight. Tonight we're gonna give this away. And our only request to you is to read it and to get the Amazon link, tell someone else to buy it, spread the word, spread the message about it. But it's our gift to us tonight. So keep your wallets down. And thank you all.
So, congratulations on the book. Congratulations on the partnership. My question is, what are some of the lessons that you've learned about activating young people who have been the beneficiaries of the civil rights movement, the beneficiaries of the Black Power movement, but who themselves haven't experienced it in a time where the things that we fought for are being systematically taken away? So what are some of the lessons that you've learned about how to activate young people who have simply enjoyed those liberties, enjoyed those voting rights, enjoyed women's rights? What have you learned about how to get them activated in this very critical time that we're in?
I think that it's really purpose. I was out of school today in Newark, New Jersey, Eagle Academy, and I had to speak to 2 classes, of the kindness of my heart. And the first group was great. It was, 11th and 12th graders. This next group, Lord have mercy. It was like 9th graders. Oh my God. And they were talking and cursing on their phone and doing, I was just like, and I just started watching. I was like, wow, this is what's happening. And we started to talk about purpose. I was like, what is purpose? And it was like, I guess it's something that you care about. I said, yeah, it's something that you care about. I said, why is that important? And it was like, because if you care about something, you start to do it differently. And that was the point I was trying to get to. I said, that's exactly right. I said, when you have a purpose, you show up differently everywhere. You show up differently everywhere. And how you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere. And my point to them was that perhaps there's something that you haven't discovered about yourself. So anything I say to you is not going to matter that much, or it's going to have less significance until you get to that place where you say, this is where I fit into this world. This is where what makes me tick matters. And the other thing that I really learned from the rites of passage, which is so deep. So one of the young men who was in the class, and he was just doing everything. And we were starting to talk. I've been in the classroom long enough, and then class left, and I was leaving, and I was trying to find my way out, and I saw him. I said, hey, come here. Can you show me how to get out of the building? He was like, yeah. And we were talking as he's taking me out of the building because I know how to find my way out. But in that time, and one of the things is, there's nothing more powerful than this to me. We were building a relationship.
That's right.
And I was understanding who he was. And he was because I was just a guy who came into the class on some level. You know what I mean? Some kids, it might be you have value I want to hear about your career. But some of this, you just a guy in my I ain't know you, Jay. So, and I ain't gonna know
I
you
want to
tomorrow.
add to what you're saying. So it's relationship,
Yes.
number one, but number two also is caring about what they care about.
Yes.
So not putting they some of this we old heads to them, so they don't want to do the old head stuff, right? They want so if you connect with them where they are, and I had to learn this from jail because I had to learn my kids from behind bars. I left when my kids were 9 and 11, and I didn't return home until they were 18 and 21. So how I connected with my kids is I helped them build businesses through the phone. Right? So I cared about they care about money. Them kids care about money now, right? So we walk in and we do earn, learn. We pay our kids. So most of the programs that we deal with, kids get money. So that's one of the ways. And the other is we care about what they care about. So we take interest in what they like and we help them build off of that. And then they're open to listening to us until we can teach more.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I want to say one more thing about that. Quickly. I was talking to 2 teachers who were in the classroom, and they were so frustrated. I didn't even know them. But they were telling me all the issues in the classroom, and they were like, these kids don't get it, they're not going to get it. And, teaching is hard.
Yep.
Oh, my. That was like God's work in these halls. But one of the things I've been learning recently, I've been reading the Bible. So I'm a good man. I've been reading the Bible. No, literally, I have been. And one of the things that came to me about in the Bible that was so deep, it was, and me and Leslie Redmond were actually talking about it. It was like, don't be offended.
Amen.
Ooh,
come on now.
The lesson's so deep. Mm. And basically what the lesson is they say offense is the bait of the devil.
Wow.
The teachers were offended by the kids. And the kids offended by the teachers.
That's right.
And ain't nothing happened. Because of offense. But no one is really trying to offend somebody. Right? That's not really what's happening there. Even when someone does offend you. So it made me realize how dangerous that is. Especially with people that you like this with all the time. Imagine if I feel, oh my God, it's going to be a war. And that's what happens. And I think great teachers have to pull that out of themselves because it's easy to be offended by people. I get offended sometimes. It happens. But I have a new thought now where it's like, and it's the power bonding piece. That's the place where your growth is, where you're offended, where you're mad, where you don't like, that's where the growth is. And oftentimes, that's where you need to develop that relationship. That's where the magic happens. You can teach all night.
I know.
It's deep. It's deep.
First, we want to give a special thank you to Jermaine Miller, who's in the back there. So this book came about because Jermaine pushed us to write this book, right? Yes. And not only did he push us to write the book, he helped us to write the book. Right. He helped us to organize our chapters. And as you'll see, each of you guys are going to get a copy tonight. This book is full of our pictures, right? And it's not just because we think that we're beautiful and wonderful. And that's why I told you, Vanessa, you're in here. It's our receipts, right? Yes. So when we teach kids, especially, they like interactive things. They don't want to read a whole bunch of words on the page. So each page has the different pictures of different work, different parts of our work. And we're not just telling our story, we're teaching through our story. Yeah. So we're using our life story to teach different lessons about how we learned about purpose, how we learned about change. So we're giving it up from that standpoint. And then also it's an interactive workbook journal. Yeah. So you're able to actually do the steps. So some of y'all that are in the building that said you haven't found your purpose yet, today we're sowing into your purpose. Amen. Because through the steps in the book, like every chapter leads on a chapter of how you find purpose. Yes. What is it that you was created to do? And then there's journaling and interactive lessons that help you to be able to do that. So I hope you guys really do the work, yes. Write in the book, yes. Get the book a little bit dirty. That's okay. Then you can go get your own copy that you keep this clean. And
the next level of your purpose too. Because I think a lot of people are in the season where they're in their purpose, but something new must happen.
To take it to the next level.
And not even that. What you used to do is done.
Mm.
What you used to do is done. That's what happens. What you used to do is done. And guess what? God's going to stop you. Mm-hmm. Keep on trying.
That's because you're supposed to do something greater.
That's right. That's right. And I think so other levels of your purpose here as well.
Correct.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank all of you again for joining us tonight for this special radical. Angelo, thank you for trusting us.
Thank you for having us.
And then we want to give it up
over here
to hold on Courtney, our decorator. So if you guys see all of these, and y'all didn't even see the bookstore. You're getting ready to go to the bookstore, right?
They said there's going to be free books. There's a bookstore on this side. I also want to thank Julianne Hoffman. You know, one of the things that is important to highlight is the fact that I know for myself, I'm in a journey of mourning and succession, and I cannot wait to dig deep into this book. And so, you know, I welcome you all to, you know, go get your book. Also order some for your young people. I also welcome you to learn more about the Gathering for Justice and Until Freedom and all the organizations that are here. You could go to our website, www.gatheringforjustice.org. Follow us on X and Instagram, gather4justice. It's all our responsibility to continue a legacy, whether it's the legacy of your family or it's the legacy of people who've walked into your lives and have made a major impact. There's an opportunity not only to walk into your purpose, but to also help somebody find their purpose. So grab your book and have some conversations. I don't know if there's some drinks, but you know, there's some pastries. And thank you all so much.
Okay.
Markers. Yep. Okay. They're gonna be on this side signing. So you guys.